Previously on the David Frankal Show.
So that we can have someone everyone is happy with, who has been democratically elected. I'll do it! You're hired! Well, of course, it is very important that we upload videos on time, and that is something we are currently working on. Videos mean videos.
So, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done?
Oh, goodness me.
Hello YouTube, yes, it's me, David Frankal. I'd like £5 billion worth of free promotion, please. Yes, I do have the negotiating advantage. Okay, well listen, you demand videos, but every time I suggest a video, you say no. What you're asking for is impossible. Ugh, traitor. Ever since I stepped through that door to do a Theresa May impression on the David Frankal Show, it has become abundantly clear that I am very bad at them. Politics has become a staple of the David Frankal Show, a show which when I first started producing, I promised I would upload every week. Sadly, I have not been able to do so. But with the resignation of Theresa May from the leadership of the Conservative and Unionist Party, it has become clear that it is time to move on from this bad impression of a bad unelected politician to an even worse impression of an even worse and even more unelected politician. I do so with no ill will, but enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to do an impression of a politician I never really liked. Think they bought the crying? Honestly, David, this was your worst one yet. Hello and welcome to the David Frankal Show, the first in a brand new era in which I will actually have time to spend on making YouTube videos because I have finished my A-levels at last. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm planning to take a gap year, so I will start university in autumn 2020. I'll spend most of this year in Budapest. I'll also be travelling around and making lots of new and exciting YouTube videos. First up though, I have to clear the end of the sixth form video backlog, which is not too big at the moment. I just have basically the stuff from London and Nottingham in April. London April is already out, Nottingham April is coming soon, and there's some bonus videos as well, including the Nottingham trams. On the day the previous episode was meant to be uploaded, the 28th of April, Duncan and I went to Sheffield to try out the very delayed Sheffield to Rotherham tram train, which opened in October 2018. So there's that video coming soon as well. This actually happened to coincide with the All the Stations Have an Adventure weekend, but annoyingly I completely forgot about it, and we forgot to take a picture of ourselves in front of the station sign with the signs, so didn't get featured. Ugh. Then there was just 2 more weeks of school left until A-levels. On the very last day, everybody in the year dressed up. I decided to dress up as John Burker, who, unlike Theresa May, I can actually do a half-decent impression of. Then I had to sit my A-levels. I did AQA Physics, OCR, MEI Maths, Edexcel History and Edexcel Geography, geography being the subject that I want to take further at university, although that being said, History, Maths and Physics all went fine, and Geography went a bit, well, badly. The annoying thing now is that I have to wait 2 agonising months to find out how well or how badly I actually did, so right now I'm just trying to put that at the back of my mind. So I am now on my extended summer holiday. Last Friday, Ellis, Rebecca and I went to Llandudno, a trip that we've been literally kind of planning and delaying for about 2 years. But it went as well as it pretty much could have. The weather was lovely, we got to ride the Great Orme tramway, eat fish and chips, eat ice cream. There was a very funny moment on the trip in which, well, I'll just let this clip explain itself. So we have made it to the beach, and it is at this point in the video where I confess to doing something incredibly stupid and unnecessary. And no, I'm not talking about Geography GCSE. Long story short, I was last in Llandudno about 5 years ago, and I was going through a bit of a rock collecting phase, and I collected some rocks from the beach of Llandudno. And I came across these rocks a few days ago when I was tidying my room, and decided I didn't want to keep them because they're massive rocks. It's a waste of time. So I've decided to bring them back. and release them into the wild. Go free!
That's the funniest thing you have ever done!
Go free, rocks! Yes, So I have been tidying my room in preparation for moving away. In mid-August, Mum and Nam are heading off to Oman to join my dad. I'm not going to Oman, but we're all leaving this house, so you've noticed I've started taking things down, tidying my room. It is the Frankal Exodus, or Frexodus, as Frexit was taken. But more about that in the next few episodes. And on the day that this episode is hopefully uploaded, Duncan and I are going to Blackpool to see how electrification has changed the route, and also to ride a heritage tram. The end of exams has opened up more time to watch more TV. I recently watched all 5 episodes of Chernobyl, a chilling TV drama about the aftermath and the cause of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, the worst nuclear accident in human history. It is a very serious series, but it has also accidentally spawned some funny Dyatlov-themed memes about basically denying reality. Didn't see graphite on the ground because it wasn't there! I've also started watching Years and Years, which is pretty terrifying so far. It basically follows a family through the next 15 years of UK and world politics and events. They predict a Trump re-election and also some crazy egomaniac becoming Prime Minister of the UK. How very far-fetched. Anyway, it's time for an update on the 15 Platforms campaign. Just before the exams, I went to the Northern Transport Conference, hosted by Place Northwest. One of the speakers was Transport Secretary, for now, Chris Grayling, where we had this exchange. My name is David Frankal. I travel to and from Manchester Piccadilly Station. We were due to receive 2 new platforms, 15 and 16, as part of the plan to widen the Castlefield corridor. This was itself an integral part of the Northern Hub, but you've cancelled that scheme, or you've delayed it indefinitely, which, as a direct result of that, we've seen the deterioration of rail services through Manchester. We've seen sustained disruption. We've seen Manchester become a bottleneck, a real performance liability for train services across the whole of the north of England. So enough of this tram train rubbish. When are you going to get your head out of the sand and fund the rail improvements that Manchester needs?
Well, I haven't cancelled any schemes in Manchester at the moment. Everyone involved is trying to work out what the best thing is to do about that corridor. The original estimates of cost were way out of kilter. The potential disruption that project would cause to rail travel through the centre of Manchester is judged by everyone to be enormous. And I'm trying to work out, together with Network Rail, together with Transport for the North, what is the best way of dealing with the problems in that corridor. It's absolutely fundamental. I'm well aware of it. But we don't yet have a simple, quick, non-disruptive solution to it. There are some things we may be able to do. I mean, there are trains that go through there, for example, that are absolutely packed and very short. One of the options we're looking at is, can we ease some of the pressures? It takes a long time to get people on and off trains just because the trains aren't big enough. So that may be a short-term measure that we can take. It's not a question of head in the sand. I do not have a simple solution that is going to deliver quick change on that corridor. And if you go for the full McCoy, it's going to mean years, and I mean years and years and years of disruption in Manchester that I don't want either. So we're trying to find a way of delivering that improvement without causing that kind of disruption.
Now, here's what you're probably not expecting me to say, but he's kind of right. Adding new platforms would be a big project that would cause a lot of disruption for passengers in the short term. But the key difference between his solution of doing nothing and my solution of building the platforms is that in 3 years' time, we will either have a congested corridor with a shit train service that's holding back the rail network of the entire north of England, or a good corridor with reliable train services. Which one of those sounds better? Oh, and adding longer trains is probably the stupidest solution I've heard to this problem yet. Obviously, trains do need to be longer because they're currently very crowded, but having longer trains doesn't really impact dwell time. In fact, TransPennine Express's new longer fleet will actually make dwell times worse because they have carriage end doors instead of the 185s which currently have mid-carriage doors. But obviously, Chris Grayling doesn't know that because, well, he's a bit thick. Luckily, he may be out of a job very soon because the only woman who's been keeping him in a job this entire time has suddenly resigned. Which brings us to the part of the video where I fail Mum's internet challenge, where you have to talk as long as you can without mentioning the B word. Brexit. Since the last episode, things have gone from bad to worse for the Conservative Party, who performed terribly in both the local elections and the European elections in the UK. The main beneficiary of this was Nigel Farage's new extended ego party, also known as the Brexit Party, which has no manifesto or policies apart from, well, Brexit. The Brexit Party won the biggest share of votes in the European elections in the UK with 32%, followed by the Liberal Democrats, Labour, the Green Party, with Conservatives in pathetic 5th place with less than 10% of the vote, which is pretty insane given that they are the ruling party. Labour did not do as badly as the Tories, but it was still very much not a good night for them. Clearly, small parties with explicit Brexit policies benefited at the cost of the two main parties, with Labour in particular having a very confusing Brexit stance, trying to bring in both Leavers and Remainers, but ultimately failing to gain the support of either. Across Europe, the alliance of Liberals and Democrats gained seats, while the European People's Party and Socialists and Democrats lost seats. In a way, this was kind of reflective of the UK results, but not quite as severe. The Green parties across Europe also did very well, with some citing the success of Extinction Rebellion protests and school strikes for raising support for the Greens. Meanwhile, back home, Theresa May's plan to form some sort of deal with Labour failed, to the surprise of nobody in particular. About a week later, she made a very confusing speech where she kind of promised a new deal, with opening up the possibility of remaining in the customs union, and even mentioning giving Parliament a vote on a second referendum, even though Parliament can do that already. Despite these concessions being basically worthless, the mere mention of a second referendum pissed off her party enough to fatally undermine her very delicate position. Within days, much of the party, including bits of cabinet, were threatening to rebel, and 2 days after the speech, Theresa May finally offered her unconditional resignation in a tearful speech which has divided the nation, principally over whether or not to feel sorry for her. I know I don't. Looking back, it seems almost inevitable that Theresa May would have to resign, having hit such a dead end on Brexit, but to be honest, the resignation actually came as a surprise to me. Just because there have been so many times already where it's felt like her resignation is imminent and then didn't come, from the immediate aftermath of the 2017 general election to her deal being voted down by 230 votes just last January. It seemed that no matter what was thrown at her, she would cling on to power. In fact, just a few weeks ago when we played the last round of Place Your Bets, 4 of the 7 competitors, including myself, bet that Theresa May would still be Prime Minister by October. Of the 3 who didn't, only my dad actually gave a serious answer that somebody else would take over, with Duncan and Alice just giving joke answers. In fact, that very morning before I walked into my physics exam, I tweeted, "I'm calling it, Theresa May's not going to resign today." When I came out of the physics exam, I was suddenly inundated with notifications saying, "Ha, got that wrong, didn't you?" And only then did I realise, oh my god, she's actually resigned. I then predicted that this would probably be the bloodiest Tory leadership election ever, but so far it's actually been, well, a bit boring. The 10 official candidates were Boris Johnson, Dominic Raab, Jeremy Hunt, Michael Gove, Sajid Javid, Matt Hancock, Matt Harper, Andrea Leadsom, Esther McVeigh and Rory Stewart. So let's meet the contestants in a debate chaired by the Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow. Order! Order! Mr. Raab, it is below you to chunter from a sedentary position in such a manner. Pipe down, man! Hello, I am John Bercow, the Speaker of the House of Commons, and welcome to the Conservative Leadership Candidates Debate. This debate didn't actually happen, I'm just making it up for this skit. Mr. Boris Johnson! Looks as though he has better things to do. Mr. Dominic Raab, please explain your Brexit plan. Well, my plan is quite simply to sort out Brexit, and after that I'm going to go on holiday to Europe. Oh, that's nice. Where are you going? I don't quite remember, to be honest. Can you name any places in Europe? Well, no. I will be driving there. Okay, are you taking the Channel Shuttle or the ferry? No, I'll be driving. You do realise Britain is an island, right? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Ireland is Ireland, Britain is Britain. Oh my god, he can't be serious. Okay. Anyway, it looks as though Boris Johnson has now arrived. Mr. Boris Johnson, please explain your Brexit plan. Yes, well, when I was Mayor of London, well, yes, you know, well, yes, you see, Garden Bridge, yes, well, in Piccadillys with watermelon smiles. Looks like prime ministerial material to me. Mr. Jeremy Hunt. Yes, well, I'd just like to remind everybody that I was the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. No, I don't see why that would hurt my chances at all. Also, I'm boring. Michael Gove, please explain your Brexit plan. What? Sorry, I'm going to go to Brussels and go to Juncker and renegotiate the deal with the backstop and leave the European Union this weekend. Mr. Sajid Javid, do you have anything to contribute to this debate? No, not really. Mr. Matt Hancock? Yeah, me neither. Andrea Ledson? Oh, fuck you, John. Esther McVeigh? Well, I think it should be the parents' decision as to whether or not their kids know that gay people exist. Next up, Matt Harper? Who are you? I mean, even I have no idea. And finally, Rory Stewart? Yes, well, I'm going to be honest with you because I'm just a very honest person. I'm actually against no deal because I think it will mean delay to actually solving Brexit, and I think it's pointless to try and do something that Parliament has rejected multiple times. This is why I'm going to try and pass May's deal, which has been rejected by Parliament multiple times. Oh, did somebody fart? Yes, that was me, sorry. Opium makes me gassy. Fast forward to a couple of weeks later, and it's now down to Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt. Now that Conservative MPs have had their say, it's now time to put it to the people. And by the people, I mean the Conservative Party members, which means the old, white, male, pro-Brexit southern people. Now, parliamentary arithmetic is a very interesting thing. Boris's policy is officially to try and get a new deal by October, which he obviously won't, so basically his policy is no deal. But Parliament are very much against no deal. Some have suggested that he would achieve no deal by proroguing Parliament like King Charles I. Now, Prime Ministers don't actually have the power to do this, they can only recommend it to the Queen. But doing so could potentially cause a constitutional crisis, because to ask the Queen to prorogue Parliament to achieve a no-deal Brexit forces her to pick a side. I think a much more likely outcome is that a Boris government would be voted out of power by Parliament in a vote of no confidence within weeks, meaning there would be a new general election. So rather than preparing for Prime Minister Boris, I would urge you to start preparing for Prime Minister Corbyn. That being said, I don't have a good track record for correctly predicting what's going to happen next, so who knows. Some upcoming videos, we have videos from London, Nottingham, Sheffield, Llandudno and Blackpool. Also within the next few weeks I'm finally getting around to making episode 1 of Lost Railways of Manchester, the Fallowfield Loop. And of course, Secrets of the Metrolink, I'm officially restarting editing, which has been suspended for a couple of months, tomorrow. I hope to have part 1 out by the end of June and part 2 shortly after in early July. The next episode of Train News, many of you have been asking, will be next Sunday, and the new episode of the David Frankal Show the week after that, on the 7th of July. In July, I'll be heading off to Budapest for a week, and for the first time since 2013, I will be going by train. Later this summer, we're also planning to go to Porto and Amsterdam, and in September and October, I'll be going interrailing, but more about that in future episodes. This week's Train Spot of the Week is a Caledonian Sleeper Mark V set, which went into Longsight to get its wheels fixed. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.